Loyal Imperial citizens, I'm Chief Librarian Tarek of the Wardens of the Webway chapter. I've been asked by my chapter master to collect the stories of the great heroes of the Imperium and record them for posterity. Our connection with the greater galaxy may have been lost with the fall of Cadia, but we still remain loyal. The first of these heroes of our God Emperor are some of the best soldiers of the Astra Militarum that have ever saluted the banner of the Imperium. These men and women were known as the Tanith First Legion. They served throughout the Sabbath World Crusades with distinction, despite the chaos that ensued with multiple leadership vacuums above them. The Tanith First Regiment, better known as Gaunt's Ghosts, was raised from the heavily forested frontier world of Tanith in the Sabbath Worlds sector. The regiment's nickname originally came about as a result of the name of their commanding officer, Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt, and the disenfranchised status of the original Tanith soldiers after their homeworld was destroyed. Perhaps no single individual has been as responsible for the survival and success of the Tanith First as Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt. Gaunt hailed from a family of soldiers, with a General Dersius as an uncle and a father who served as second-in-command to a regiment of the Gentine patricians. After his father's death, Gaunt received schooling at the Schola Progenium on the world of Ignatius Cardinal, where he specialized as a commissar. As a cadet, he served with the Hyrcan 8th Regiment under the tutelage of Commissar General Delane Octa and distinguished himself, receiving promotion to full commissar upon Octa's death. During his attachment to the Hyrcan 8th, Gaunt gained the attention of Lord General Sladeau, becoming one of his inner circle. With Sladeau's promotion to War Master and his charge of an Imperial crusade to retake the Sabbath Worlds, Gaunt was amongst the chosen few with whom Sladeau swore a blood oath to see the crusade to its conclusion, no matter what, in order to honor Saint Sabbath, from whom the sector drew its name. In the following years, Gaunt performed incredible feats and received the extremely rare rank of Colonel Commissar and his own command over the Tanith First for his loyalty and achievement. From that point on, Gaunt and his regiment, later nicknamed Gaunt's Ghosts, made their way from battlefield to battlefield, facing terrible foes and incredible challenges that tested them in every way, forging them into a deadly and renowned regiment. His namesake nickname proved to be of some further application, as the Vergestite personnel influx into the regiment also considered themselves ghosts due to the destruction of their home city, and the regiment as a whole is noted for its stealth and reconnaissance abilities, being almost uncanny in nature. The forest world of Tanith was destroyed shortly after the initial founding of the planet's first 3 Astra Militarum regiments. The only survivors to escape the attack, the Tanith First, carry with them the wilderness skills learned on their homeworld, making them a superb light infantry regiment. The guardsmen of the Tanith First and Only wear distinctive camo cloaks and are renowned for their expertise in both scouting and reconnaissance in force missions. In addition to their normal equipment, each guardsman is armed with a straight silver war knife, unique to the Tanith Regiment. Despite their limited numbers, the courageous, if uncultured soldiers of the First and Only have been instrumental in multiple battles throughout the Sabbath Worlds Crusade. Led by the inspirational Colonel Commissar Ibram Gaunt, and drawing new recruits from the worlds, they fight to liberate and defend. The reputation of Gaunt's Ghosts continues to grow with each passing deployment. If the Imperial Guard is the so-called Hammer of the Emperor, the famed regiment, known as Gaunt's Ghosts, finds more in common with the medical scalpel, small, fragile, but incredibly deadly when employed correctly. Its founding coincides with the complete destruction of the heavily forested world of Tanith, and this single regiment and its troops contain the last living memories and traces of their world. Highly skilled in special operations, the Tanith First and Only display exemplary small unit tactics, brilliant leadership, precise marksmanship, and uncanny stealth skills. All of these abilities were integral to their many achievements during their time of service as part of the Sabbath Worlds Crusade, a hard-fought effort to reclaim the worlds in the Segmentum Pacificus that bear their Imperial Saint's name from the forces of chaos. Originally, there were 3 Tanith regiments raised for the Astra Militarum from that forest world in the 10 standard years of the Sabbath Worlds Crusade, the Tanith First, Second, and Third, 6,000 troops and a small number of vehicles and artillery pieces. The majority of the troops who joined were Tanith militiamen, although some former criminals were present, and it can be assumed that other non-military members of the population were included. The soldiers were originally organized into 3 2,000-troop regiments, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of Tanith. A small number of artillery and armor units were also created, although they were intended for supporting roles for what was at its heart intended to be an infantry force. Following the reformation of the Hyrcan 8th, the highly experienced Colonel Commissar Ibram, Gaunt was assigned to lead the 3 new regiments. When Gaunt arrived at Tanith to oversee the founding of these regiments, he was not impressed by the appearance of the troops, initially describing them as a scrawny, scruffy mob of soft-voiced woodsmen. His opinion of them changed quickly after seeing them in combat. Soon after his arrival, Gaunt impatiently ordered the regiments to begin boarding the troop carriers that would take them to the troop transports in orbit waiting to ferry them through the warp to their first war zones, a fortunate move which got enough of the regiment's men off-world before a Chaos War fleet, scattered from the recent Imperial victory at Belhort, managed to evade the Imperial Navy picket and head towards Tanith. Gaunt decided to abandon the world, trying to salvage as many fighting troops in the process instead of wasting them all in a heroic but impossible effort to hold Tanith. The regiments were hastily loaded onto troop transports and shuttled to carrier ships in orbit, but the Chaos attack occurred earlier than predicted. Gaunt survived, being one of the last members of the regiment to make it off-planet, and he reorganized the survivors into a single infantry regiment, the Tanith First, soon also known as the First and Only. Gaunt confirmed, after leaving Tanith, that his quick actions had salvaged 3,500 troops of the original 3 regiments and the majority of their equipment. The vast majority of the heavy equipment, along with the regiment's entire officer corps, was lost when the forces of chaos made planetfall. It is unclear which of the original 3 regiments actually was saved from the fires of Tanith, but the remaining troops, regardless of their original assignments, were reformed into the Tanith First. On the regiment's first battlefield, on the world of Black's Heart, the Tanith Guardsman Matt Lane Larkin coined the nickname Gaunt's Ghosts. The use of the nickname Ghosts had a dual meaning. The first is that Gaunt's decision to abandon Tanith made ghosts of them, the regiment, hollow echoes. The second is that because of their exceptional stealth and scouting skills, the regiment's troops were ghost-like on the battlefield. The Tanith First excels at reconnaissance work, as the Tanith never get lost, and using camouflages, they can move quickly and stealthily through most types of terrain. The Ghosts eventually garnered a strong reputation after a number of actions during the Sabbath Worlds Crusade, in particular the defenses of Vervenhive, the Beatty's Shrine on Hagia, and the defense of the apparent actual reincarnated person of Saint Sabbath herself on Herida. Unfortunately, these successes did not come without its drawbacks, and the Ghosts suffered heavy casualties on a number of occasions. However, two large personnel intakes during the regiment's history, one from the citizenry of Vervenhive, the other from combination with the 81st Belladon Recon Regiment, managed to offset these losses. The Tanith First and Only are best known for their participation in the Imperium's Sabbath Worlds Crusade against the forces of Chaos in the Sabbath Worlds sector, which began in 755 M41. During the crusade, the Ghost's expertise in covert operations was instrumental in the liberation of a number of worlds. However, rivalries with other, more illustrious Astra Militarum regiments, in particular, the Jantine Patricians and the Volpone Bluebloods, often put the Ghosts at risk. The regiment took heavy losses in its early actions, including the loss of 300 guardsmen during a friendly fire incident at Voltis Watergate. Heavy casualties were also incurred during the effort to recapture the Adeptus Mechanicus Forge world of Fortis Binary, so much so that, by the time of the Ghost deployment on Mont Hex, they numbered only 1,500 guardsmen. The casualties taken at Mont Hex and later the Hive world of Verghast were replaced by recruits taken from the destroyed Vervenhive, at which time female soldiers first joined the Tanith. After Tanith was destroyed by the attack of the Chaos Warfleet, the Tanith First and Only had no homeworld from which to draw new recruits to replace losses. Instead, new Ghosts were adopted into the regiment as the crusade progressed. At the end of the siege of Vervenhive, the Hive city was left in ruins, and the disillusioned citizens of Verghast were given the opportunity to join the Imperial Guard under the Act of Consolation. This resulted in an influx of Vergastite soldiers into the Tanith First, which brought the first females into the regiment. Several of these women became some of the regiment's best snipers. The soldiers from Vervenhive used a different badge on their caps to represent the regiment, adorned with the axe rig that Vervenhivers used in mining before their Hive city was destroyed. Heavy casualties were also incurred during the effort to recapture the Forge world of Fortis Binary, so much so that, by the time of the Ghost deployment on Mont Hex, they numbered less than 2,000 guardsmen. 10 Terran years after the regiment was first raised, the Tanith had been involved in numerous campaigns for the Sabbath Worlds Crusade. After Colonel Gaunt and some handpicked Tanith specialists were dispatched on a suicidal mission to Girion, a world held by the forces of Chaos, the Ghosts were merged with another reconnaissance regiment, the 81st Belladon, to form the 81 STE/1 ST Recon Regiment under the command of Colonel Lucian Wilder. 18 solar months after making planetfall on Girion, Gaunt's mission team was retrieved by Crusade forces. After inquisitorial scrutiny, the team members were sent back to the newly formed 81 STE/1 ST Regiment, while Gaunt himself was stripped of command rank and sent to be the senior political officer of the Fortis Binas, serving at Sparchet Mons. Shortly after taking his position with the Binas, Gaunt began to suspect that the potentially sacred sites or Mons that the Imperial Guard was fighting over might actually be Chaos artifacts. With evidence mounting, he contacted his Girion team and determined that the artifacts were, in fact, enormous Chaos traps. Gaunt was eventually reunited with his Ghosts, and his evidence prompted the withdrawal of the Imperial forces from the Mons. Caught in a desperate rearguard action, and with time counting down to an orbital bombardment by the Imperial Navy, Gaunt's Ghosts were hard-pressed to escape utter destruction. Only the valiant sacrifice of Colonel Wilder, the 81 STE/1 81st Regiment's new commander, his commissar, and the Belladon 1st Company allowed the 81st/1st as a whole to escape. Following his actions, Gaunt was again granted command of the Tanith, along with their Vergestite and Belladon compatriots. It is worth noting that following the merger with the 81st Belladon, the Tanith First's organizational structure changed. Companies using alphabetical call signs replaced the previous numerical platoons. The regiment was reorganized so that the Tanith, Vergestites and Belladons were fully integrated with each other within the regiment. Additionally, each group of men and women was represented by an officer directly below Gaunt, Major Ron of Tanith, Major Coleo of Verghast, and Major Baskerville of Belladon. Following the reorganization, Gaunt led the newly reformed unit to help liberate the now chaos-held world of Girion. The troops of the Tanith First are unparalleled scouts, marksmen, masters of stealth tactics, and excellent light infantry, and are said to possess an unerring sense of direction, traits developed for survival on a planet where the forests actually move to conceal the path taken. Despite all of the Tanith First and Only successes, their biggest success is the protection and resurrection of Saint Sabbath. In her first life, she served with my Jean brothers until her death. On Hagia, the sacred homeworld of Saint Sabbath herself, Gaunt's ghosts nearly found themselves disbanded after a trap sprung by the forces of chaos resulted in the destruction of the planet's Doctrinopolis, signaling a massive chaotic retaliation war fleet to move in on the world in the process. Assigned to retrieve the sacred remains of the saint from her mountain tomb, the regiment was able to both fend off a massive assault by the Infadi chaos cultists of Pater Sin and activate the powerful psychic device in the saint's tomb, which scattered the incoming chaos war fleet through the warp and ultimately saved the planet from invasion and conquest by the servants of the ruinous powers. The saint was said to have been reincarnated as an Ashley girl from the world of Hagia, spending time with the ghosts and activating the beacon. After this battle, the saint then led Imperial forces on the planet of Heredia and joined the Crusades' War Master Makaroth at the front lines. Since its founding, the Tanith First and Only has served in the following campaigns and war zones, in approximate chronological order: Black's Heart, Voltman, Ramillies 268-43, Cain Mora, Bucephalon, Typhon 8, Caligula, Nasidon, Spertis Ellipse, Fortis Binary, Perites, Menacate Epsilon, Oscray Hive, Sapientia, Monthex, Verghast, Hagia, Fantine, Ex-Cardinal, Heridale, Ancrion Sextus, Girion, Yogo, Belhot, Salvation's Reach. Now that you know about Gaunt's ghost, go and spread the word of the God Emperor's great warriors that came from normal man. Because of the state of the galaxy, we are beholden to this technology called YouTube. If you are a loyal servant of the Emperor, make sure to like this video and subscribe to receive more of the logs of Imperial heroes. Guard the gates for the holiness of the Emperor.